The expanded university, imaginative and boundless. References are brought to you by our personal collection of books, the Cardass Library. Legacy of the Force, Betrayal, by Aaron Alston was the first book in a 9-book series which told a galaxy-spanning story set after the Yuuzhan Vong invasion and Swarm War. Cover art by Jason Felix. The novel was the first set in the newly created Legacy era, 40 years after the Battle of Yavin from the first Star Wars film. It was published on May 30th, 2006. Reading from the back cover, a dangerous destiny summons Jacen Solo. A devastating war threatens the galaxy. A dark enemy stalks the Jedi. The story starts out 4 years after the conclusion of the Swarm War and at least 10 years since the defeat of the Yuuzhan Vong. The Galactic Alliance rules the galaxy. Anakin Solo is dead. Jacen Solo has been back since the Swarm War from his 5-year tour of alternative force studies around the galaxy, and many of the Jedi are still affected by the trauma of the Yuuzhan Vong War and the Swarm War. Luke and Jacen's parents have seemingly accepted Jacen's strange demeanor that took hold after his return from Yuuzhan Vong captivity. Luke and Jacen even have some barely polite disagreements on philosophy. Nevertheless, Luke's son Ben is placed under the tutelage of Jacen for reasons explained during the Swarm War. The book opens with Luke experiencing a strange dream of a dark man. He and his wife Mara speculate on the identity of the man. Luke is left uneasy. Meanwhile, Jacen and Ben are on an investigative mission to the planet Adamar, checking to see if a missile plant was producing unauthorized ordnance for members of the Galactic Alliance. These scenes very much reminded me of the mission Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi were on in the opening of The Phantom Menace. Another parallel I see in this pairing is the young apprentice with that of a mentor with unorthodox Force beliefs. During the feigned routine inspection, Ben exposes a secret, unreported manufacturing room producing missiles. Combat with Adamari troops ensues, and the two Jedi escape the planet on a Lambda-class shuttle. Back on Coruscant, there is a family dinner with the Skywalkers and Solos. It becomes tense around the table when Han expresses sympathy for planets, like his own homeworld of Corellia, that want independence from the Galactic Alliance and its controlling involvement in sovereign affairs. The character of Han Solo, almost 70 years old, is not the same man he was in the original trilogy. He has experienced great loss, Chewbacca, his youngest son Anakin, and he has experienced great joy, fatherhood, a marriage of decades with his partner in life, Leia, and enduring friendships and familial connections with those around him. At his core, though, he is still the stereotypical independent Corellian maverick. Han makes his views on the brewing civil war very clear. Later in the story, Han's convictions are so strong that he and Leia, risking treason charges, meet in secret with the Prime Minister of the Corellian government to warn her of potential preemptive attack. Given Han's opinion, it is unfortunate that Luke privately offers Jacen a mission to sabotage Centerpoint Station, a huge independent space station in the Corellian system that would give them an advantage against the Galactic Alliance and ensure independence at the very minimum. Interestingly, despite Luke's discomfort with Jacen's path, he lets Jacen decide whether or not to take Ben along on the mission. Jacen decides that he will take Ben. Wedge Antilles, retired general and hero of the Rebel Alliance, New Republic, Galactic Alliance, as well as a few independent paramilitary organizations fighting in the interests of the aforementioned organizations, and his wife, Ayala, now living on Corellia, were the subjects of recruitment by the Corellian government. Although they refused, the Galactic Alliance sent 2 operatives to bring Wedge back to Coruscant using a transparent ruse. The intent was to detain Wedge in a relatively comfortable facility so that his skills could not be used against the Galactic Alliance. Wedge, an ever-practical man, allowed the outrageous action to sway him to the side of his homeworld. To make matters more complicated, his daughter Cial was a fighter pilot for the Alliance. Upon his return to Corellia after escaping imprisonment, He met her in orbit during the Alliance action, reassuring her. The action. A huge Alliance fleet arrives at Corellia in an attempt to put forth an overwhelming display of force. But Corellia was ready, with hundreds of ships prepared to oppose the Alliance. Outrageously, Jedi strike teams hit the ground, attempting to kidnap both the system prime minister and the planet's chief of state, who happens to be Han's cousin, Thrackan Sal Solo. The strike team assigned to take the prime minister is led by Jaina Solo. Jaina, twin sister of Jacen, had experienced much pain in her life as well. The loss of Chewbacca, her younger brother, and even Jacen as he was in Vong captivity almost led her to the dark side during the war against the Vong. Due to the Joiner experience during the Swarm War, she was close to the Jedi Zek, whom she had known since they were both children. Powerful like her twin, she was different in that she was a natural leader, one not a stranger to initiative and even impulsiveness at times. The planet-side strike teams utterly failed, with decoys taking the places of the targets. Jaina's team was attacked by YVH droids, which had been developed by Lando Calrissian's company during the Vong War specifically to fight the extragalactic aliens. Luke's fighter squadron is also taken off guard with the destruction of the extraction shuttle for the strike teams. In the end, the Jedi escaped, but two Zaks, stayed behind in Sal Solo's residence as a spy. Jacen and Ben are more successful, with Centerpoint being disabled. However, both have intense experiences while on the mission. Young Ben comes face to face with a large droid programmed to believe it was Ben's deceased cousin, Anakin Solo. The experience disturbs Ben, who would only wind up telling his father about it. Jacen has a confrontation with his cousin Thrackan Sal Solo, and, after a vision, decided that to prevent a war and harm to his family, Thrackan had to die. The elder man was able to escape by way of a distraction, unnerving Jacen. The psychotic admiral in charge of the Alliance fleet decides to invade and occupy Tralus, one of the 5 inhabited worlds of the Corellian system. Leaving the Alliance in a position where withdrawing from Tralus would be seen as a sign of weakness, while staying would eventually lead to war, a summit is arranged on a space station in the Kuat system. The Corellian Prime Minister would represent her government, while the Galactic Alliance sent Supreme Commander Galad Pellaeon. Pellaeon, now over 90 years old, had lived a long military life. He served the Republic and the Empire after it. When Grand Admiral Thrawn returned from the Unknown Regions, Pellaeon served as his right-hand man and learned much from the Chiss. Pellaeon oversaw the finalization of peace between the Imperial Remnant and the New Republic. He fought during the war with the Yuuzhan Vong and was instrumental in bringing the Imperial Remnant into the newly formed Galactic Alliance. Interestingly, and although Pellaeon isn't a patriot and has very little connection to the world, he was born on Corellia. Both negotiating parties are attacked by a Corellian mercenary force, and the Corellian Prime Minister is killed. Both sides investigate the attack. A strange object is found by Wedge. Jacen decides to follow the lead on the object. A series of events lead Jacen and Ben to the planet Lord, where they meet up with Jedi Nalani Din. Jacen makes a series of decisions and multiple coincidental crises that make Nalani nervous. Eventually, they are taken to a woman in Lordian custody. She claims her name is Brisha Seo, and that she is responsible for the events Jacen had resolved. Jacen takes keen interest in what the woman has to say, and accepts her offer for more answers by accompanying her to a place she claimed had the answers to the object found on the Kuati station. Back on Corellia, Thrackan manages to convince Wedge to join the fight against the Alliance. The fighter jockey gets in some great verbal jabs at the Corellian head of state. Wedge's plan involves flying bombers underground to gain access to the shielded Alliance base on Tralus. Han, knowing the risky mission called for the best 2 Corellian pilots in the galaxy, secretly volunteers for the mission. The 2 Corellians pilot YT-5100 Shriek-class bombers, which I imagined by the description as looking similar to the pictured ship. The attack is successful and the Alliance is forced to abandon their trailless beachhead, but both Han and Wedge are going up against their own daughters in the battle. The sobering realization that the coming war would be very personal hit Han like an ion cannon on a mouse droid. During the battle, Leia was aboard the Alliance ship Organa and offered her assistance to the Admiral in command. Leia was able to surreptitiously feed information to Han while he flew his mission with Wedge. She, too, had committed treason against the Galactic Alliance. Leia Organa Solo, having left the political scene years before, was now a fully trained Jedi Knight. Always a rebel, and having been influenced by her husband's views, as he was by hers, she made decisions that she felt was best by the Force. Still, she wrestled with the dishonesty in doing some of the things she did in the book. I feel this is leading to a parallel with Jacen's journey during the series. Brisha takes Jacen and the two other Jedi to an unnamed star system near Lord. The system is home to an asteroid field that houses a base where Brisha lives. Once there, Brisha reveals that she needs their assistance in facing a Sith Lord living underground. While descending, she separates the Jedi and forces them to fight Force simulacrums of others all the way across the galaxy. Ben versus his own mother Mara Jade, and Jacen versus Luke. Both sets of duelers see each other as corrupted versions of their true selves. One of these Force phantoms, in form of a long-dead Sith Lord Darth Vectivus, confronts Nalani. Brisha reveals to Jacen her real name, Shira Bree, a name Jacen associates with Lumiya. In the Marvel comics, Shira was a rebel pilot with whom Luke had begun to start a relationship. She revealed herself to be an Imperial double agent and was shot down before returning with a cybernetically repaired body and armor similar to Darth Vader's, calling herself Lumiya, Dark Lady of the Sith. After Endor, she waged battle against the rebels until apparently being killed in the final issue. Lumiya reveals that Vergere had actually been training Jacen to be a Sith during his Yuuzhan Vong captivity. She claims that Darth Vectivus was a Sith Lord who had intended to use the ways of the Sith for good purposes, for peace. They are interrupted by Nalani, who is immediately hostile toward Lumiya. A brief duel ensues, resulting in Jacen preventing Nalani from harming Lumiya. Jacen had decided to learn what Lumiya had to teach him. Nalani wants to arrest Lumiya, and the Dark Lady acquiesces. Jacen sees future possibilities, and in all where Nalani lives, Luke dies. Jacen and Nalani duel, and Jacen, almost mercifully, kills her. There are obvious parallels in this scene to Anakin Skywalker's choice in Revenge of the Sith, with Darth Sidious and Mace Windu. Jacen's choice is between his belief that his uncle will die and allowing Lumiya to be brought to justice. He will strengthen himself through pain was one of the messages on the object Jacen had traced to Lord and Lumiya. The book brought back some old characters and introduced some new ones. Cal Omas, Chief of State of the Galactic Alliance, returns. Alston would bring back his Wraith Squadron character Shala Nelprin. Corran Horn was on one of the Corellian strike teams and had stayed behind keeping guard at a supposedly abandoned Jedi enclave. Tycho Selchu and Wedge, on opposing sides, get some great moments together. No one can write Wedge better than Aaron Alston could. Wedge's wife Ayala returns and her scene is great. Cha Nyathal is introduced. The story was excellent, featuring complexity without complication. There were interesting characters, intriguing mystery, engaging dialogue, well-designed and executed battles, and a scope that made you not feel, but know it was Star Wars. Very rarely, if at all, was I bored while reading this book. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. Here are my ratings. All Media, 8.5. Science Fiction, 8.5. Star Wars, 9.0. I will leave you with this quote from Grand Master Luke Skywalker. He exists. He finally exists, for real.